The term bunny boiler became a part of our culture because of one movie. So today, we're going to tear into that iconic thriller and really get into the psychology of it all. Obsession, betrayal, and the character that honestly defined a whole generation's fear of infidelity.
I mean, that reaction right there, it tells you everything you need to know. This wasn't just some movie people saw on a Friday night. It became a cultural event, a terrifying cautionary tale that really plugged into a deep-seated anxiety about what happens when you cross that line.
So how did this happen? How did one character become this huge cultural warning sign? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we have to start with the two people at the center of the storm. Dan Gallagher, a man who thought he could have a little fun with no consequences, and the woman he met, Alex Forrest.
So, on the surface, you've got Dan. He's a successful lawyer, he's got a loving family, basically the picture of a guy who has it all figured out. And for him, this affair with Alex was supposed to be simple, a weekend thing, no strings attached. But for Alex, well, she saw it completely differently. The second Dan tries to pull the plug, to go back to his perfect life, that's when everything changes. Alex just refuses to be ignored, and that's when her actions start to escalate and the line between a passionate lover and a terrifying threat just disappears.
What is so unbelievably scary here is just how fast this all happens. I mean, look at this timeline. This isn't some slow burn. It's a full-on explosion over 6 weeks. She goes from self-harm on day 3 to stalking by week 2, and then to truly horrific violence by week 6. The speed is it's absolutely terrifying.
So, all of this insane escalation, it makes you wonder, right? Was Alex just a crazy ex? Or was there something much, much deeper, something more clinical, driving everything she did? The film actually gives us a ton of clues.
Well, a lot of people, including psychologists, look at Alex Forrest and see a cinematic textbook case of borderline personality disorder. Her behavior isn't just random or evil, it follows a really recognizable and, frankly, tragic psychological pattern.
Okay, so here's the thing. For an actual clinical diagnosis of BPD, you need to check off at least 5 out of 9 official criteria. And just looking at this list here, you can see she's hitting a lot of them. That frantic effort to avoid abandonment, that's a huge one for her. So the real question isn't if she fits the bill, it's how well she fits it.
Yeah, all 9. She hits every single one. This isn't just some movie trope. It's a really deep, well-researched psychological portrait. That intense fear of being left alone. By the way, many believe it was rooted in the sudden death of her father when she was just a little kid, only 7 years old. And this right here, this is a perfect example of something called splitting, which is super common with BPD. See, for Alex, there's no gray area. Dan isn't just a flawed guy who made a huge mistake. Nope. He's either her white knight, the savior who's going to rescue her from her lonely life, or he's the devil incarnate who used her and has to be destroyed. It's all or nothing.
And Glenn Close herself had a theory about Alex that adds this whole other tragic layer to it. She believed Alex was a victim of past abuse and that her rage wasn't really about Dan at all. He just happened to be the one to light the fuse on a lifetime of trauma. Her obsession with him wasn't just about love. It was a desperate, desperate attempt to find someone, anyone, to make the pain inside her stop.
Okay, but here's the deal. We can't just talk about Alex. Her psychology is only half of the equation, right? She might have been the powder keg, but someone else lit that fuse. And that brings us to the man who started it all, Dan Gallagher.
So you have to ask yourself, right? Here's this guy, Dan, who seems to have a perfect life. Beautiful wife, a sweet daughter, a great career. Why? Why would he risk all of that for a weekend with a stranger?
Well, in a way, Alex fits this classic archetype. The siren. Like in the old myths. She's exciting, she's a little dangerous. She's the complete opposite of his predictable, ordinary life. For Dan, she's this irresistible call to something wild, a temporary escape from his day-to-day. And just like those sailors, he couldn't resist.
And let's be crystal clear about this. Dan was no innocent victim here. Not at all. He was a willing participant who chose to play with fire. You can practically see the guilt eating him alive right after the affair. The way he's overly nice to his wife, it's a classic move to cover your tracks. He was drawn in by the excitement, and he chose to ignore all the warning signs.
But the story doesn't just end with the two of them. And this is where it gets really tragic. The real cost of fatal attraction is the collateral damage.
the pain inflicted on the people who were completely innocent in all of this.
I mean, just look at this ripple effect. His wife, Beth, gets into a car accident from the sheer stress of it all. Their daughter's pet is killed, their daughter is kidnapped, and it all culminates in Beth, his wife, being forced to kill Alex just to protect her family. That's the real gut punch of the movie. It's not really about a stalker, it's about how one person's selfish choice can absolutely shatter an entire family system.
So, that leaves us with the big unsettling question. Who's the real villain here? Is there even one? Is it Alex, a woman clearly suffering, acting out of a deep well of trauma and abandonment? Or is it Dan, the man whose selfish betrayal kicked this whole nightmare into motion? The film doesn't give you an easy answer, and that's probably the point.